So we're back. Welcome back to Cross-Cultural Management. This week we're talking about global etiquette and cultural appropriation, business and social customs of being polite, international etiquette. I'd like to start with many people online. I don't know how many people are online or where you are. Hopefully some of you are at a nice comfortable beach or comfortable store somewhere while I'm alone in the classroom. Can you guys define to me, how can you be polite international? Any ideas, any comments?
I have a comment. I think you have to find out, well, what it means to be etiquette to a specific culture. Because, if you think, oh, let's use etiquette in my culture. Well, if from America, it's like, oh yeah, you make strong eye contact and give a good old handshake. But in some other cultures, maybe strong eye contact is not etiquette. It's like staring down at someone is really bad. So you got to find out to the fit it to the culture that you're trying to interact with.
I think that was Gwen. So do you see what I'm doing right now, Gwen, wherever you are?
Yes, that's a thumbs up.
Do you realize this is a huge insult in some countries?
I did not realize that.
What about my idea of trying to help you get more marks later? If you want to share information, I can go like this. Go ahead. What does this mean to you?
I mean, that's like a promise, or yeah, like fingers crossed, like good luck.
I mean, is that a good thing or a bad thing for you? Is it polite in your mind?
I mean, it's not dispolite. It's just kind of out of context, not in the right situation.
Good luck.
This is Minjung, and does that mean you are lying?
Good. Thank you for adding whoever is Mr. Angel. Thank you. No, I think I heard you say, does it mean you're lying? No, is that what you just said?
Yes, because as I know, did you have you seen the movie Truman Show? The crossing fingers means that you are lying.
Absolutely, yes, you're right. Usually not in front. If you do it in front of you, it's usually saying one message, which means I wish you good things. I wish you good luck. It's a kind thing. It's like a hoping you have a good time when I do this in front of me. Usually that's in Canada and the United States. However, if you hide this behind your back when you're talking to somebody, yes, that's generally a sign that my information is X, which means it's wrong, which means, yes, I'm lying, it's not true, or it's a joke. And in the Truman Show, yes, that was a lie or a joke. I am not trying to hide anything. I'm trying to be very open, getting you guys to talk about international etiquette. So what I was saying is, the more you talk, the more you present something, the better. The more you share research, the more you share articles, the more you share videos or massive open online course information about the weekly topic, the more points I can give you. You can work in a group, of course, but each individual person, you are able to also work on your own. And if you do share more by yourself, you yourself will get more points. So that's why I was saying each individual person speaking, I'm wishing, go ahead, good luck. What do you want to present? If you present something, maybe you can get many marks or bonus marks. Hopefully that was clear. Why am I talking about that? I'm talking about that because this in one country means a good thing, but in another country, it means a very bad thing. It's the same thing as the middle finger, which I'm not going to show you. But the middle finger in some countries means good things, other countries it means bad things. The idea of having your fingers between here, sometimes it means a good thing, like a joke for young kids. Or in where I'm from, in Canada, if you see young children and you basically go and touch their head, play with their nose, and then move your fingers off of their face, off of their nose, and you show your thumb between it, it's usually a kind joke to get the children to laugh and get them interacting with you. But it is a huge insult, just like the middle finger in other countries. Does anybody know of other examples of things that are definitely rude in other countries? What might be okay in one country and not okay in another? Or what might be very bad in one country that is not understood in a different country?
I know one thing. I remember when I was in Canada, I was talking to this friend from Colombia, and then he taught me in Colombia they call bus buseta, and in Portuguese it means totally different thing. So I should not say what that means in class, I think.
Could you repeat what were you talking about? Or
Well,
maybe-
he taught me buseta means bus in Colombia, bus, the public transportation. But
Okay.
in Portuguese, buseta means something else. It's about part of it's term for part of body of woman. So that kind of gave me like, oh, I shouldn't say that in front of Brazilian people or Portuguese people.
I think it's not just a woman. I think it's for the derriere or the backside of not just a woman, but also a guy. Being sexist is also considered rude, right? Yes.
No, I mean, it's not but. It's not but.
Not but?
Yeah. In front. Woman's part of a woman's body in front. So yeah.
So I can't comment. I understood in other cultures, yes, some people are talking about bus or the caboose or things like that. But yes, each culture has certain things. So you're saying in Portugal or in Brazil, the bus represents some part of a female body that you're not supposed to talk about, but in Portugal or Brazil, some people do talk about it. Okay, that's a good example. Am I understanding correctly?
Oh, there's a kind of a misunderstanding, but in big picture, yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you for teaching us about bus. Any other examples? What else should we be aware of? Be careful with your bus in Portugal or Brazil. Next. Hua, can you help call out some people's names to make sure even the shy people get a chance to talk? If you are shy, it's called. You can always say pass if you are more of an introvert and you don't want to talk publicly.
Okay, I'll try to pick us.
Yes, Professor. It's Minjin.
Okay.
I was. It's not. I have to careful in other culture, but for me, I was surprised that one of my friends in United States and Switzerland, she from United States and Switzerland, and they are really open and talk like if you have money to a prostitute, and I was shocked at the time. So maybe for them, maybe they make Korean friends. They have to careful for like to a prostitute or kind of that.
I thank you for sharing, but was that Kim Min Jung? I don't. Was that right? Kim Min Jung or Kim?
It's Minjin Jung.
Min Jin Jung. Great. I don't really understand your topic other than you said some people are worried about something related to prostitutes. Can you help clarify to me with the cross-cultural communication, what is the issue related to prostitutes and that culture?
The time the United person a woman from United States and a woman from Switzerland, and they just talk and like laughing, and they said like if you need money and to a prostitute, and but at the time that was okay, but for me, I was shocked because that's not really usual to talk in Korea, and I think that's kind of rude and not an etiquette. So if in Korean culture, that's not an etiquette.
Okay, so what I understand, you were talking about a joke. And yes, jokes are incredibly hard to manage across cultures. Cross-cultural communication, just the basic meaning is a challenge. When you start to get into jokes, usually you have 2 meanings or 3 meanings with words or ideas, and that can be very, very confusing when you try to talk about it in a different culture. So what I understand you were talking about is some people from United States and some people from Switzerland. They were making jokes about 2 people were together, and I assume they were probably attractive people, and one person was saying, oh, I don't have enough money on me right now, and the other person was making a joke. I'm not saying it's good or bad joke, but the other person was saying, just go be a prostitute for a while, you'll make lots of money. Perhaps that second person was giving the first person a compliment and a joke, saying, you're so good looking, the world is yours, go ahead, do whatever you want, and you could be a prostitute and get everything. It could be considered funny. But in other cultures, for example, like Korea, it's almost never talked about openly like that. So it could be considered shocking or rude. Is that what you were saying?
Yes, that's perfect.
But I'm a geek, so I took the fun out of your joke and I made it into like some sort of science conversation. Okay, yes. Is there anywhere in the world where prostitution is maybe a joke or funny or okay to talk about? Anybody in class?
In America, I mean, people make jokes.
Go ahead, keep going. Oh, you're cutting out. I heard somebody say, I think it was Gwen saying in America, and then it stopped. Can anybody help continue? What do people think about prostitutes being good in America, in the United States?
Wait, I got it. In America, people make jokes and stuff about it all the time.
Why is it good to be a prostitute? What, for example, in Korea, they usually are saying prostitutes is related to sexual slavery, and the women are basically super poor, being controlled by like a gangster. Is that right? Jung Min Jung, is that who was talking earlier?
Yeah, yes, yes, I agree. Kind of, yes.
So if prostitutes are human slaves being traded illegally, how could it be funny in another country? Can somebody explain that for the United States?
Because it's a job and you make money for it. Like it's why would you be fired if you're good at that job?
There's YGV5? I didn't hear that.
Why would you be fired if you're good at that job?
Okay, yes. I'm not supposed to laugh. That's hard not to laugh. Good. Sorry, giving you the thumbs up. Again, some cultures it's good, other cultures is bad. Please forgive me if I offend you. My intention is to have fun and learn about global etiquette. The whole point is that other people do other things, and even though you don't understand it in your environment, it could be bad, doesn't mean it's bad everywhere. And the exact same thing in your environment, in your home, while you think it's good, doesn't mean it's good in other places. So you have to check. Stereotypes are good. There's so much information in the world. There's so many people saying this is good, this is bad. You have to stereotype things, put them together, and generally say stereotypes of prostitutes are generally bad. But there are places like the New York movies, maybe in Las Vegas or maybe, I don't know, LA or New York, there could be some prostitutes working. I'm not United States. I'm not from United States. I don't know, but it could be legal in some places. I think prostitutes, they say in Texas, and it's still legal there. And so if it is legal, girls are doing it because they want to, maybe there's very good money. So yes, you could make jokes about it. Versus in other cultures, like Korea, it's not legal. Even if girls wanted to do it, there are laws saying you're not allowed. However, just up until recently, I came in 1995. From 1995 to about 2005, you would go through many cities, and some parts of the city, everything all turned red. All of the walls of the building became glass and it became red. Lots of red lights everywhere. And you'd see a lot of girls sitting on stools wearing very small clothes. And that was advertising things. So yes, make sure you understand what is good, what is bad. And then there's the other part of it, the whole idea, even though there was laws against it many years ago in Korea, the first time I found out about it, I was walking to a university, Seoul City University in Seoul. You get out of the subway and you walk one way, no problem. You walk the other way, you can walk two ways equally. You walk the other way and you're guaranteed to walk through a red light zone. What does a red light zone mean? It's generally an area for prostitution. I was walking through, seeing all of these prostitutes, and I saw two policemen came up. And the two policemen came straight up to me. I thought I was going to get arrested for just being there. And they started joking with me, saying, oh, what do I think? How much? The girl said a price. The policeman got angry, joking to her, saying, that's too expensive for our visitor. The tourist should get a discount. So yes, there are jokes. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. It needs to be interpreted with the environment. Sometimes it's not a national environment. Good. Any other examples? Maybe something not related to prostitutes. What about work? Doing business. You want to go to another country? How could you offend somebody or make somebody feel uncomfortable when you're trying to be respectful? Does anybody know about that?
Well, I have one comment. It's not really about what you just asked, but in work environments in South Korea, when, let's say, you at a company, the work finishes at 6 p.m. But unless your boss leaves the office, you just stay there and wait until the boss leaves. It's not about like, I finish my work and I can go. You have to wait until your boss leaves the office, so you are allowed to go. It's not illegal, but the atmosphere is like that.
Good. So I'm from Canada. In Canada, you just do your job and you finish it, period. You don't even need to stay in a company. If you can do your job from home, you can do your job from home. If you can do your job on Saturday, you do your job on Saturday and you don't have to do it on Monday or Tuesday. Whenever you need to do it or can do it, you can get it done as long as you do that 35 hours of work per week. However, other cultures like Korea, yes, they require you not just to think of your own time. That could be considered rude. You should be considering the group that you're working with. And if the group is working, usually you consider the boss there. And if the boss is still working, because he worked very hard for many years to get to being the boss, you should give him extra support and work before he starts and after he starts out of respect, because he worked hard and you're trying to help. If you don't, it could be considered rude, like you don't care about the company. You're giving the company the middle finger by going home at 5 o'clock. Yes, absolutely. Good example. Any other examples?
So I'm from Uzbekistan, and we have, like strict rules about the education system. So for example, we have uniforms for high school and then universities as well. So if you go to college or university, you have to wear the uniform that the the school administration gave you. So I think that would be kind of disrespectful for the school administration if you go to the school or university with the shorts or slippers. So I think that's the difference between my country and other countries as well.
Okay, if you go to a school that requires a certain type of dress or certain type of uniform and you don't wear that, it could be considered rude. Right. What about here in Korea? In Korea, some schools, younger schools, usually require students to wear a uniform, but not usually at universities and not usually at companies. Many companies do have special uniform style clothes. But what about this? It's cold right now, it's winter, and so I have a jacket, I have a t-shirt, and I also have an undershirt. Sometimes I have a t-shirt under this, and just talking about it could be considered rude. Sometimes I'm wearing a t-shirt that has a very funny painting or image on the t-shirt. So when somebody else is talking about it, I can say, oh, ha, ha, ha. And I can lift my shirt up and show them my t-shirt. So I'm still covered. My body is covered, but I started to take off just the outside layer of my clothes. And when I've done that in Korea, some people started to almost run away thinking I'm crazy. Because you're not supposed to usually take your clothes off in work in front of other people, even though you're not in front of customers. So yes, the idea of clothing is very important. Some places, they will have many different customs. Some people have to cover all of their body except their eyes. And in other cultures, they don't understand. Any comments about that? Anybody aware of those details? No? If we go back to the school, the idea of the school, let's look at that next, the topics. We're going to talk about many things: introductions, greetings, business card exchange. I'm going to come back and talk about the business card exchange soon, but I want to talk to you about this. Hopefully you can see this pretty well. What it's talking about is education and the world changing. As companies restructure and downsize, which is happening in the world, competition will become fiercer. There's more and more competition. It's getting harder to keep a job or get a job. Being promoted will depend not only on how smart you are or how qualified you are, but also on how appropriately you behave. What is your etiquette? And how much you look and act the part for that particular position. That's incredibly important because I'm being a professor at a university, which usually in Korea is considered very high level respect of a professor in a university. People come to the school at a certain time and there's a lot of respect. Now, even though my PhD is in information management and international management, teaching online, I'm teaching and nobody's in front of me, everybody's online. Yes, you need to be aware of that. More and more companies are working online and hiring people online. If you get a job online, we are in that short-term temporary gig economy. That gig economy, you will be working with people from a different style. You must know how to behave. How do you do that? How do you learn if it's okay to talk about a prostitute? How do you learn if it's okay to talk about your undershirt? How do you learn if it's okay to talk about or wear shorts at work for a Zoom meeting? How do you know that? Any comments? How can you learn?
By observing the general culture of the organization, like how people usually dress or behave, and learn from that.
Good. That is the best case opportunity. If you have an opportunity to observe in advance. But what if you're doing a sales meeting or consulting job where you are from one country and you're doing consulting for another country, a company in a different country, and your very first time presenting your results, you show up, I don't know, in a bathing suit because you just came from the beach, or you show up in different clothes than they're used to. What if that company you're working for requires the hijab, or all parts of the body is usually required to be covered except for eyes? How do you know during your first meeting? Any other ideas? Where can you learn things like this? Does anybody know of websites that teach you about this?
Well, usually there are senior or like what we call like mentor who teaches.
Everything.
Oh, yes.
Was just talking.
Okay, so I said that usually there are like tutor, not a tutor, but like senior or like mentor in a company, like who teaches and who like leads the junior to, or the new worker to how to behave, like how to have business manners, how to exchange business cards, and how to be polite. Usually there is a mentor, I would say. Yeah, but I'm not sure about the site, the website.
If you're working with companies, big companies often will have somebody to train you, right? There could be an HR department that you could contact. But what I'm talking about, for example, I believe, Kyungganjong, you were interested in working for, what was it, Goldman Sachs, or an investment banking company in the past, or a consulting company in the past, similar, very high level job. And those companies work in many different countries. So you could work for them, but what if that company had a project for a customer, a client that usually required wearing the hijab, but you didn't know that. You were just researching the financial details and you're going to present it wearing shorts and a t-shirt. How would you know if you were on the other side of the world working online as a freelancer or a online worker for these big companies? Any ideas? You could talk to the HR department and ask. They should not be offended. They should be able to answer any questions related to work there, right? Including what is the typical normal clothing requirement? Yes. So you can get your mentor from the HR department. Anything else? I heard there was 2 or 3 people trying to talk and share an example. What was your other examples? No other comments? Okay, let's go through and keep talking about the other things. Generally, you need to respect and observe the etiquette of other people. Try to do it, as we heard, first. Maybe you can go through a Zoom meeting without your monitor on and just watch. That could be one way, or just have your face showing. That's another way. Some people, some culture, they believe if you're in a meeting, but you don't show your face, that could be considered very rude. You're not participating properly. Another one is learn the practice and the correct behavior from the HR department, or from a senior, or from a mentor in that organization. But it's very hard to find a mentor. It's very hard to find a senior in those other companies if you're working online. So overall, make sure you avoid unintentionally offending somebody. How do you do that? Usually one of the answers is YouTube. Try to watch videos of the type of people you're going to be meeting in advance. And then you can start by introducing yourself. Hi, my name is Sean Watts. I apologize if I might offend anybody with my attire or my clothing. I tried to prepare and I learned from this, but this obviously didn't teach me properly. I misunderstood something. So make sure you try in advance. YouTube is definitely helpful. Going through the videos, going through HR, they should help you also. The whole idea of what is etiquette. Etiquette includes manners, behaviors considered socially acceptable by people of the culture. You need to find out from those people or from online. You can't find out online from videos. Be careful, stereotypes are very good at managing information, but there's a lot of jokes and a lot of people have sarcastic videos or TikTok videos trying to say what you should do, like Saturday Night Live, but it's the complete opposite. So be aware of that. The protocol refers to customs and regulations having to do with diplomatic etiquette and courtesies expected in international negotiations. Introductions. How do you introduce yourself in Texas that would be considered rude in Korea? How would you introduce yourself in any other country that might be considered rude in Korea?
Maybe just by your first name.
By saying, "Hi, I'm Sean. Nice to meet you."
Yes, just like that.
Okay, that could be disrespectful. Why? Anybody?
Because Korea is like they use a lot of formalities and stuff. So just saying your first name is a little too casual for first introductions, I would think.
Okay, good. Any other reasons behind it? Not just a formality, but there are reasons why certain people do certain things. Any understanding why? What's the communication importance of a position or a name or an age or a name card or business card? Most of the world is group oriented. We understand Hofstede. Hofstede has taught us there's several different types of cultures. One type is individual focused people versus group or collective focused people. And it's created, Hofstede is a European person, many Europeans or North Americans, they are individual focused most of the time. And so they're saying a lot of rules, or they're making etiquette training manuals. You should do this and this and this and this. But those are for the Western world, the North American or the European environment. That whole idea could be wrong and is wrong in more than half of the world. More than half of the world is group oriented. And with the group orientation, there is a structure and usually a hierarchy within the group. You have to respect that culture. And that culture with the hierarchy, you need to identify who is at the top and who's at the bottom, because there's certain requirements and duties of each level. If you come in and just say, here's my name, people cannot figure out what level of the hierarchy you are. If they don't know what level of the hierarchy you are, they don't know how to be respectful to you. If the top person is talking to you, that could be insulting to this organization, and they could be talking down to you. If the bottom level person talks to you, it could be insulting to you, and you might not even have the correct vocabulary to talk to them. So what are these for? Name cards, business cards. What are the rules related to these? How do you use these in much of the world? In Korea, for example, what is the polite way to do it, and how should you react to it? And
Do you mean giving with two hands? Or
explain that? What is respectful and what is not? Can you give it to a young child? Just to mess up these details, and you need to fix this. I was close friends with the president of a very respected organization, also the friends with the president of the respected university here. And I saw he had many name cards with him. And so I took my name cards out because he had his out when we're meeting people, and I started giving it to students that were talking to me. And he was looking like he was going to cry. he was very sad. And he told me he should not give his name card to low, young level students. If they wanted something, they should talk to his personal assistants or the teaching assistants or the research assistants. That would be more appropriate to their level in the university and society. So can you explain that? How should somebody from the United States or France manage when they come here?
I think personally in United States or in Western culture, when making a relationship, it's person to person, but in South Korea, it's more like group to group. So as you mentioned, if I try to give my personal contact, then it has to go through procedure and process, not directly to the person that I want to provide my contact info, unless like I really need them to know me.
Okay. What about when you have a big meeting of people from the United States meeting a big group of people from Korea? That whole idea of when you have name cards, who do you give your name cards to? Who do you give your name cards to first? How do you give the name cards and why? Can you explain that?
Maybe in South Korea, you give your name card to representative of the group or the the person who has highest position, I believe.
Right. You
In
start,
South Korean culture.
you start giving your respect to the highest level person first. You would give your attention focused on the highest level person, giving them your name card with two hands, and there's a slight bow when you give it to them. Same thing when you take their name card. If you're lucky enough to get a name card from them, you take it with two hands and you're supposed to look at it and say, oh, wow, something, show them respect by getting the name card. And then are you allowed to put it in your back pocket? I usually have a lot of name cards here, and this wallet many times goes in my back pocket if I'm going into the car or walking around town. Is that okay? Can you comment on that?
I think if you get name card, if you put it in wallet in front of them, that does not like offend them. But in front of them, you, let's say, stuck that name card to your like pocket in your pants, like you just stick it in to pocket, then it might offend them.
Okay, why?
Because putting the name card into a wallet shows them, oh, I value your name card. But if you just stick it in directly to your pocket, not wallet, then it's kind of like, it kind of gives them sense that, oh, you think you don't value them and you don't value their name card.
Right. The name card, some people say, is a face card. It's definitely known as a business card, but it's also considered equal to that person's image. So you not only have their name, you're supposed to have their organization name that deserves more respect. You're also supposed to have their position in that company, which deserves respect. And you're supposed to consider it. You're supposed to look at it for a short time and respect that they got into that company, number one, and to that level of success, number two, and then identify who around them is also in the company and who has the highest or lowest level, and pay the most attention to the person that's at the highest. Usually, the rules go, you're not supposed to put it into your wallet or into your pocket quickly at all, especially during meetings. You're usually supposed to keep it out on the desk, just like they are a member of the meeting. And then you put it away after the meeting is finished, showing respect. One trick for international culture, I usually put the name card in the position of the people that I'm talking to so I can remember who I'm talking to. Other people, they may write notes on the name card. It's very popular in Canada. If I get a name card, I will write a note. I met this person here. He talked about this product. This was the price of the product. I will remember the notes by writing on it. But in Korea, usually, traditionally, it's considered their face. So you're not allowed to write on their face. You're not supposed to traditionally write on a name card. But increasingly, that's okay. If you ask them first, is it okay for me to help remember your position in our meeting if I make some small notes here? So you can make some notes if they agree. But even then, you're not supposed to scribble all over it. You should make small notes. Respect, this is their face. Same thing. We're talking about you should have the name cards. You should have a wallet for name cards for you to give out. And also, when you take somebody else's name card, you should have a special wallet to keep them in. So I have that. In my wallet here, I'm able to save name cards, but because I use my wallet quite a bit, some of these name cards are getting a little bit dirty. The one on the outside has, I don't know, some marks on it. If I give a name card that is a little bit dirty to somebody, that also is considered rude. You should be presenting a very clean, respectable, professional image, not a dirty image. And when you put your name card into the wallet and once you're finished your meetings, because it's a sign of respect, you should be keeping it close to your heart. Like in the front pocket is okay. Some people will be offended, the traditional people, not so much the younger generation. Some people might be very offended if you put it in your bum and sit on it. It's like sitting on their face. So maybe after they leave, then you can move it. But before they move, you keep it in a professional pocket. And proper pockets, business pockets, have actually a name card pocket holder, which is in front of you. Those are just extra details. Also, the whole idea of meeting. In Germany, you should be using titles. In Italy, address the person with the college degree, such as Dr. Watts. In Korea, usually people say Dr. Sean or Professor Sean, even though that is not my name. Anybody understand, me being from Canada, what is my proper name?
You're Sean Watts, right?
That's also, yes, that's technically true, but it's disrespectful of my position and my education.
Yes, but you said in Canada.
Yes, in Canada.
So is it not how you do in Canada?
In Canada, I'm still Dr. Sean Watts, but then after the production is finished, I can say, somebody would say, hi, this is Dr. Sean Watts. And then I say, please just call me Sean. And then you can
okay.
Sean.
I see.
And when it is doctor, it's usually Dr. Watts, which is my family name, not Dr. Sean. Or it's Professor Watts, not Professor Sean. So the first and last names are switched, like we talked about here. When introducing the Chinese, the surname comes first, same with Japan, same with Korea, and the given name comes last. Like Pak Taewan, for example, the park comes first, that is the family name. Many people confuse those. Be aware of that. Next, in Latin American countries, people often add their mother's maiden name to their surname, so you would use the next to the last name when introducing them. Evelyn Rodriguez Castillo would be addressed as Señorita Rodriguez. Any other countries have longer names or more complicated names? Anybody here in our group want to explain your country?
I guess my country has the most longest names in the world because we have our name, given name, and like first name, and then the last name, and then our father's name.
I see on our schedule here, it's Yasser Rachmanov.
Rachmanov, yeah. So Rachmanov is my last name and Jasur is my first name, but I didn't put my father's name, which is on my passport because it would be so long. So
Considered equivalent to North American, a middle name? I also have a middle name that I almost never use. Is it almost the same thing? Do you use your father's name as a middle name?
Yes, I guess.
Okay, so my full name is Dr. Sean Daniel Watts, but I almost never use Daniel. And if I'm talking to friends, you can call me Sean, but professionally or in school, it should be Dr. Watts. You don't use the middle name. Okay. Also, in Latin America, introductions are accompanied by a handshake and an embrace or a bow, depending on the culture. What does it mean by giving somebody an embrace? Can somebody explain what country typically does that? In Canada, we don't often do it. Sometimes, but not often. Which country?
In my country, in France, if you know someone from, like, if it's not the first time you talk to him, you almost always go on and give them a kiss, 2 kisses on the cheeks. And if you don't do that, that's rude for the person you know. But
So-
of course, due to COVID, we don't do that anymore. And we've all turned into awkward persons. That's really weird.
Very good. So I'm not allowed to kiss Jules on the cheek anymore because of COVID. Very good save. I was looking forward to it, but okay, let's go on to the next part. Greetings and handshakes. What about the way to touch somebody? Are there any countries you know where you're not supposed to touch the other person? I'm from Canada, and you should be able to give anybody a handshake in Canada. If you don't, it could be considered rude. If you walk up, even a young child, meeting somebody and giving them a handshake, some people might think it's very cute because it's extra professional. It's extra polite. Usually young babies don't have to do that, but if a young child does, it's considered extra good. And when you give a handshake, you should be giving a firm handshake, not a soft little handshake. That's what some people say is very good. What are countries that that's not the case? Where are some differences?
Well, I guess the biggest difference would be between Islamic countries and other countries.
Can you
Like
explain?
you're not supposed to handshake with a woman, but with men it's okay. But I mean, like, if you want to handshake with a woman, I guess it's not acceptable in Islamic countries.
And so what are you supposed to do when the owner of a business is a lady?
Well, you can do that if that lady is a boss of the company. I think you can, like, give a handshake, but most of the time you're not allowed to or supposed to.
So what should you do when a guy meets a lady in Uzbekistan?
You can just say hi, but you're not supposed to. Or you can just do this and, like, you know, you're not supposed to hold hands, or, but most people do that. But I guess it's not acceptable in, like, strictly religious countries.
You said do something like this, but I can't see you. You're invisible to me. Can you
Like putting your hand on your chest, like, yeah, like that.
Ooh.
Yeah.
You want me to grab some lady's breast? Something tells
No. Putting your hand on your chest, and that's it, like saying thank you, or yeah, nice to meet you, like that.
the other person is here. If this is the other person, I'm just supposed to say, nice to meet you.
Yeah.
Well, you don't bow. Like, you don't bow. You just
You
like
don't need
put
to
your
bow.
hand on your chest. Like we say assalamu alaikum. So you just like put your, like, while you're saying assalamu alaikum, it's like, you know, good morning, good afternoon, and it goes with everything. So you just, like, while saying that, you just put your hand on your chest. That's what we do.
Can you explain about which countries? Because it's not just Uzbekistan. I believe there are many countries that follow that. Can you?
All the Stan countries, like Pakistan, I guess, Uzbekistan, and
Yeah, all Eastern
Afghanistan.
countries do that. Yeah.
Most Islamic countries, I would say.
Good. Thank you. So we're starting to understand these things. What about greetings? The whole idea of in the US, after you do the handshake or at the same time, usually you say something to this person. Hi, how are you doing? Have you had a good morning? That whole idea of the US greeting behavior is a ritual. Upon arriving at work, one person says, good morning, how are you? To which the other person usually says, fine, thank you, and how are you? A lot of people learn that. Some people are starting to learn that when you say, good morning, how are you? They don't expect a long answer. Sometimes a long answer could be considered rude. What do we do in these STAN countries or in any other country? Any other ideas? Which countries do you not usually ask about personal details? How are you today? As we were just learning, I understand in Uzbekistan and many of the STAN countries, usually a man is not supposed to ask personal questions to the woman. Just like the handshake, we're not supposed to do the handshake, but I understood we're also not supposed to ask about their private life. How are they doing? Or did they have a good weekend? Even those normal questions in North America could be considered inappropriate in some countries. Is that correct? Do you agree? Is that a stereotype that's accurate?
Well, I don't think it's correct. Because it kind of depends on what kind of questions you're asking. If you're asking how was your weekend or how are you or how have you been, I guess it's okay to ask, but yeah, I guess it depends on the person and the questions that you ask. But you can ask these questions like how are you, how was your weekend or something like that.
Any examples of potentially misunderstandings or where people from one country may do something quite a bit? For example, what did you do on your Friday night? Did you have a good time going out at the bar? Or I saw you bar hopping on Friday night. Bar hopping just means going to one bar to another bar to another bar, having fun with friends. But talking about that level of personal detail sometimes could be considered inappropriate even in North America. The idea of the levels of being politically correct. Some people say you're supposed to separate professional from your personal life. And the idea of going to restaurants, going to bars, being with family sometimes is not supposed to be discussed when you're with the personal personal details are not supposed to be discussed with professional work environments. Even the whole idea of in Korea, many bosses in Korea will take their employees out to lunch. That idea is considered sometimes in North America going beyond it's not considered normal. Usually the work is separate. Any other comments? We have a little bit of time left. There's a variety of things. For example, a cheek kiss. Some countries used to do it. The handshake. Some countries used to do it. Some countries, when you're doing the handshake, it's supposed to have two hands. The whole idea of some countries, it's not just one handshake, but the whole idea of receiving that other hand should have two hands. Sometimes it's two hands almost together. Anywhere from the wrist all the way up to the armpit is considered good. But one hand could be considered rude to greeting a high-level person in Korea and in China and Japan. Other countries, you're not supposed to. Especially like somebody in Texas, they could go up to a young child or even close people and pat them on the back, say, hey, how are you doing? Did you have a good weekend? And pat them on the back, versus you're not supposed to do that in many countries. And especially like places like Thailand, you're not supposed to touch somebody's head, especially a child's head. Some areas of the body are sacred. It's not just the breast, the bum, and the pelvic region. It's more than that. So the idea of in Mongolia, there's the smuff culture. Anybody know what is the smuff culture? Can anybody guess what this is?
Is it bowling like Japan and Korea?
Not the bowing. The bowing they're talking about, that's just Japan. But up here is the Mongolian area. The whole idea of the smuff culture. These guys, for example, taking out something like a cigarette.
It looks like gambling.
could be gambling. It's something to check out. There are some cultures where you're supposed to meet and take a certain tea, have the tea with the other person, or sometimes have a smoke with the other person. Sometimes you might put something like tobacco in your mouth with the other person. Sometimes, like I'm from Canada, and when you meet, traditionally, when I used to live in the Arctic Circle, in the islands up at the North Pole next to Greenland. And the traditional culture there was when you meet somebody for the first time, like a family meeting another family, sometimes the guy was able to go cuddle in bed with the wife of the local. Body heat keeps somebody warm. I'm not saying that's the continuous, the new culture today, but there are some cultures which would be completely shocking to others. Also, the idea of saying hello, sometimes it's touching noses. And some cultures, for example, in regular Canada, I shouldn't say regular Canada, that's also rude. In the big cities like Toronto, Ottawa, Vancouver, Montreal, those cities, when somebody asks you a question, you're supposed to respond quite quickly. Similarly, in New York, LA, somebody asks you something, you should respond quite quickly. In Japan, you're supposed to be respectful and think for a couple of seconds before you respond. So a couple of seconds is a sign of respect, not rudeness, which they think it is in Toronto. But in Northern Canada, when two people meet, sometimes you're just supposed to touch noses. It's the idea of like sometimes it's considered a kiss in other places. So there's many cultures that are quite shocking. Make sure you understand what the other culture is doing. Greetings, handshakes, we've gone through most of that. Anybody know where this is? Hakuna Matata? Jambo? Anybody understand that language? Swahili? This is in parts of Africa and Kenya. The Maasai tribes, basically living in parts of Africa, they have the introduction culture where they're greeting people by spitting. It's not the regular places like in Nairobi in the big cities, but outside there's a lot of like the villages or the small towns, the small communities outside the big cities where they're still living with a lot of the animals and the nature. Those communities, they actually spit for introducing other people. Obviously, it's not considered polite in Western big cities anymore. Same thing. Sometimes they're spitting on people's heads and things. Types of handshakes. United States is supposed to be firm. In Asia, it's supposed to be gentle. A United States good handshake, a good strong handshake, could be considered very rude to some people in Asia. Usually, the Koreans, they like a good firm handshake, but there are many countries where you're supposed to be very soft. Any ideas on the Asian countries or any countries where a soft handshake is considered good? No? Thailand, for example. British, soft, French, light and quick, German, firm, Hispanic, moderate grasp, Middle Eastern, gentle handshake. So be aware of all of these details. So I just wanted to show you these details. Our class is definitely finished. Are there any questions from anybody in the class?
No, sir.
No?